Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Marco Jure Show. It's Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today's show to hear all the relevant, groundbreaking news here in America and around the world, the only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Please don't forget to follow the show wherever you might get your podcast. It is available on all streaming apps for you to listen to and enjoy, so be sure to share with as many people as possible as well. That way we can make America sane again. But I hope everyone's ready for the best hour radio has to offer, uncensored and ready to go. Let's start today's show with my first topic I have for you on affordability and get right to work. This is from Fox Business. And I want to ask you, the listener, how are you viewing the economy today? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ugly? Let's see here. And, this is a very, very crucial point, especially for the upcoming 2026 midterms. So let's dive right into it. Trump calls affordability a Democratic scam as inflation concerns persist nationwide. He went on and blasted Democrats over the affordability focus in a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, saying that their policies brought historic inflation that he is working to bring down and continues to concern Americans with. So, again, I'm not sure why this is a Democratic hoax. As president, he ran in 2024 on the slogan, he would end inflation and make America affordable again. He said this in August of 2024 in Montana, pledging to bring down the prices of all goods starting on day one. A few short days later, on August 17th, he then said that he would rapidly drive prices down. So what I'm getting at here is, if the notion of affordability is a hoax, why are you campaigning on it? That's the big question. Why are we campaigning on it? We all know that Biden-Harris destroyed the economy. With the American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion. What did that do? Nothing but a waste. That was to bring back jobs after, the COVID pandemic. Right? The bigs got bigger. The small got destroyed. And by the way, the Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't bring down inflation at all, just printed more money, $740 billion Joe Biden printed out, ushered into the economy. Right? That helped increase inflation. And again, it never ceased after that. Then we had the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, $1.2 trillion with an additional $550 billion in new spending. And what did that build? What cities look immaculate today in America, by the way? Any? Again, I was in Los Angeles the entire time this administration was destroying the country. Nothing was built. Nothing got better. I think we still had the highest gas taxes in the nation, by the way, with the intent to fix our roads. Nothing got fixed. So we had two scams running side by side, of course. Yeah, now nothing was rebuilt. Same old crumbling infrastructure, same decay all over Los Angeles. And by the way, let me just point this out to you, by the way. We also continued our foreign aid, as usual. Biden printed out roughly $300 billion, and I say roughly because it probably was more than that, to give to Ukraine, starting in 2022. Again, you can't print out $300 billion and then expect inflation to increase. And of course, we also spent billions to Israel after October 7th, 2023, also upticking inflation as well. Not a shock. So again, what I'm getting at here is, I understand that Trump didn't cause this, that he's reacting to it, but he has to address this head on. He has to put in policies that are actually going to bring down inflation. What is going to bring down inflation? Well, number one, I would suggest we cut down these tariffs quite a bit. Congress needs to sit down with President Trump, say, okay, where do you want tariffs? What is a reasonable price? That way it's not going to cause this massive uptick in consumer prices. Let's start bringing back manufacturing here to the United States. Let's cut spending. Let's cut any type of regulation. Let's cut the corporate tax rate down. Let's do all of this. Let's make everything more affordable again. Why not? What do we got to lose? Bring the manufacturing back here. They're good paying jobs. Americans can work these jobs. We don't have to ship things from halfway around the world to get here. We have to look at what happened in America in the 1990s with Bill Clinton, with NAFTA, of course, among other failed policies. But the idea that we're going to just continue to outsource jobs and not try to bring them back here, again, is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We need to bring back the manufacturing en masse back to the United States. And that should be our number one focus. We should be producing every single thing that we use here in the United States. We should be able to produce that here in the United States. We once did that. Now, again, today we are outsourcing. You see, made in China, made in India, made in Brazil, made in Mexico, made in Canada. The only thing you don't see is made in America. Let's get Americans working again. Let's get them good paying jobs. Let's do this. We can't keep relying on this bloated, spending on defense and, of course, Amazon, and think that the country is going to be booming. We just can't simply do that anymore. We've got to reverse track. We've got to start producing here again. And then you're going to see those inflation numbers drop down. But again, the spending has also got to be cut as well. You can't keep having these big $1 trillion spending bills and wonder why the national debt is exploding. How the hell are you going to pay that down as well? So just my thoughts on that aspect of it. Again, he's right to point out that we have the highest inflation in 40 years under President Biden. No one's denying. I'm not denying that. Even the Bureau of Labor Statistics, though, were coming out saying that the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, showed that inflation was 3% in January when Trump returned to the White House. Now, again, that's year over year. And again, the prices under Biden were up roughly anywhere from 25 to 30% overall inflation. It was disastrous. It was horrible. It was worse than the Carter years. I'll just put it to you that way. I mean, again, folks, when you're seeing gas prices more than double, like here in California, when I was in January, okay, I'll put it to you this way. In January of 2021, I was paying $2.53 per gallon for unleaded in California, in Los Angeles. Those prices almost reached $6 for me at the exact same place where I got. That's 100%, over 100% increase in gas alone. You're telling me inflation didn't hit more than 9.1%? No, it hit 9% that year. It drastically increased every single year under Biden. The problem is, year over year, in April, it declined to 2.3% year over year. Okay, so it was starting to go down. However, in September, year over year, it reached 3%. So we're paying 3% more in September in 2025 than we were in September of 2024. That is a problem. We're also seeing the uptick of unemployment. It was 4% when President Trump took office in January. It's now 4.4%. It's slowly upticking. That doesn't mean it can't be reversed. It doesn't mean it can't be changed. It doesn't mean we can't, again, expand the economy, raise GDP. But we're not seeing these policies act out. And that's a big problem with all this. Now, the inflation rebound coincides with President Trump's rollouts of, again, these high tariffs. As U.S. importers deal with these high costs from import taxes, that's what a tariff is, being passed on to the costs and, again, the higher consumer prices. So that's why you're seeing more price increases at the stores as of right now. Again, doesn't mean things can't change. I'm not saying they can't. Reagan had a rough first year in office in 81 when he was dealing with the same thing. Very high interest rates, very high inflation numbers. I think inflation hit maxed out under the Carter years at 15%. It was explosive. And what did Reagan do? Well, he implemented his own idea of policies for the economy. And by the end of 82, things started to turn around. And the Reagan economy grew so much, I think it was 25% gross national product it grew. It was massive. And the effects of that great economy that Reagan gave us, and again, we have slumps, we had recessions in 87. I'm not saying everything was perfect, but that economy that he gave us was even felt in the 1990s. That's how good those policies were. So let's understand those aspects can happen. Yes, Trump can turn this around, and I think he can turn this around, but he's got to stop with these tariffs. He can't come in one day and say, hey, we got a 100% tariff on Chinese goods. No, wait, it's 150 now. People are buying from China going, wait a minute, I don't know what to charge people. I don't know if I can hire people. I don't know if I can expand my business. I don't even know if I'm going to have a business if anyone's going to buy these goods from me. We've got to put things in perspective here. And again, we've got to get Congress on board with this, so that's why I don't know why Mike Johnson's sitting on his ass doing absolutely nothing. So, let's understand this too. Biden, no growth, 4 years of it. It was a disaster. I understand this. We had basically no growth for 4 years. Trump is dealing with that. He only got about $200 billion in foreign direct investments. Trump has got about $21 trillion worth. We need to see that formulate quickly here in the United States. Otherwise, he's going to start losing voters. Alleged 200,000 jobs under the Biden regime. I thought it was 13.1 million. What happened? Well, that was a big lie, of course. GDP never reached past 3% under the Biden years, except for in 2021 when some states began fully opening up to 5.9%. That was just opening up commerce back here in the United States. But that was jobs already opening back up. That was it. Where are we today with inflation year over year? Right? We have to understand, where are we? It's going up again. Why? Because of the tariffs. We got to start kicking these tariffs down, folks. And, yes, we can always say Trump inherited this mess, 4 years of nothing, but what are the polls showing us now? How do Americans feel after roughly 11 months of being in office? What are they saying about the economy? And this is the big kicker. He's got to come to the realization that this is a big problem for him. A Fox News poll found that a roughly 76 of respondents rated the national economic conditions as either not good or poor in their views. That is not a good sign. When you have 3/4 of the people on Fox News polls telling you, hey, the economy's not so great right now, that's a big problem. That's your base right there, folks. You got to listen to your base. They also indicated negative views about their personal financial situation, 60% rating them as not good or poor, while roughly 40% said that they are good or in excellent shape financially. Okay. God bless those people. 61%, majority of the voters, said that they disapprove of how President Trump has been handling the economy, while 38% expressed approval. While 77% of Republicans said that they approve of the president's handling of the economy, just 25% of independents and 6% of Democrats expressed approval. I've said this to you time and time again. By April, and I say by April because this is the clock is ticking. He's got about 4 months to turn this economy around. Put it in the other direction. That's the way it's going to work. If he does not do that, it's going to be chaotic in the general election. So by March already, we're going to have candidates running. They're going to be running on certain positions. And again, if they can't get people behind them with the economy, with plans, with what Trump is doing, with what MAGA is doing, so-called, you're going to see a big problem. We're going to lose the House in 2026 if he doesn't turn this around. So the clock is ticking, folks, and he's got to start putting these things together fast. We can't keep this high spending. We can't keep low output. We've got to start growing GDP again, and it's got to happen much, much sooner than later. Okay? And again, people are going to go to the polls. Excuse me, they're going to vote. And if the economy is not in their best interest, they're going to go with the other candidate. Because the Democrats are going to try to offer them, well, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that. It worked for Mum Dummy in New York City, so we're going to go with this policy. It worked for Spam Burgers in Virginia. It worked for Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, so we're going to go with this. He's got to get a handle on this. And he's got to start implementing policies that's going to start bringing down inflation. Okay? One of the things he can do, as I said, he's got to start producing here in the United States. He's got to start focusing on the United States. Not what's happening in Argentina. Not what's happening in Venezuela or Israel or Ukraine. What's happening in our country. Domestically. Yes, he can focus on other things as well, but the main priority needs to be here. And people need to start seeing that. Nobody gives a damn if he brokered a deal between India and Pakistan, which again, nothing is holding through on these policies too, by the way. These so-called peace plans. Nothing's been signed. Nothing's changed. And any of them, by the way. The ceasefire in Israel isn't being upheld. We're seeing Palestinians killed every single day there still. Nobody's talking about it, except for several truth seekers like myself. Ukraine is still ushering on, as I've pointed out to you. Vladimir Putin, Bloomberg article today just came out, or excuse me, it was yesterday rather, saying that, well, he's open to the talks, but nothing has changed in his position so far. The war will go on unless we come to the table and accept his terms. But Americans are sick of this. They want to see America improve. They want good paying jobs for Americans, for their children. They don't want to usher in another 130,000 new workers to take good paying jobs. They just don't want it. You're going to lose a lot of people over this, especially young people. So let's understand all this. We can't keep doing the same old thing and expecting a better results. By the way, listen to the Wall Street Journal. It says here that realtors are now snatching up real estate again. Now, while this is a positive to hear, and, a good thing, it says retailers have now moved into 5.5 million more square feet than what was vacated in quarter three. It says it was a huge turnaround from the first half of the year, which resulted in many bankruptcies from many of these chain stores due to pullbacks from consumer spending and the tariffs, which is why I've told you the tariffs have got to go away. So while this is a plus, I'd have to say, again, I'm glad things are expanding, especially some of these department stores. What are they? Well, we've got Dollar General, we've got Dollar Tree, we've got Aldi's, Tractor Supply, Burlington stores, and 7-Elevens expanding. I'd feel more at ease, of course, if we had small local businesses that were actually moving into these open spaces. But that's not the case. Again, I told you, the bigs are getting bigger and the smalls are crumbling down. We see retail construction remaining at record lows. That means people are not creating more space, but they're leaving existing supply tight. Again, we had, so far, vacancy rates around 4.37%. Excuse me, 4.3%. Yeah. In the United States right now. That's because no one has the cash to build their own business, to buy their own land, to build on their own. They can't do this. So they're occupying whatever storefronts are available. And again, I said this before to you. I'll say it again. I want you to know this. So the number of brick and mortars and, again, empty buildings in America before COVID was about 1 in 20. After COVID, it doubled, 1 in 10. Again, go look at some of these spots, some of these major cities. They're empty, right? They're not booming. They're not robust as they once were. So as a result of this trend, you're going to start to seeing, once these properties go default, you're going to see a banking bust. That's what I'm being told by the people that are looking into this. They study the economy. They study these trends. That's what's going to happen as a result of this. If people can't start occupying some of these spaces and renting them out, what's going to happen? You have an empty building you're paying rent on? How long are you going to be doing that for? Unless you have unbridled amounts of money, it's not going to go well. So, why are we seeing this uptick right now? Well, again, we see people shopping for Christmas. That's the holiday season. People are gathering more, so they're buying more foods and what have you. And these businesses are expanding. Okay, and they may need the space. They may need the staff, of course. That's why quarter four is always a big boom in America, in the economy. Again, we just had, Cyber Monday this week? We had Black Friday last week. People are rushing out the stores, buying everything they can see, trying to get deals. There's a lot of inventory out there. So you have to hire the staff. You have to have the products, so you're buying more of them, right? You're stacking the shelves. And again, you're hiring the staff to sell them. Or so we hope. Again, it's buying season right now. But what about when January 1st turns around? What will that show for us? What's going to happen then? Now, sadly, again, I'm happy some of these chain stores are expanding in 2025. Store closing announcements were up this year. 11% this year as compared to last year. So let's understand where we are. Again, while we have online sales accounted for roughly 60% of the overall purchases in retail, up from previous figures in 2023. Yeah, I told you before, the online retails, the Amazons, the eBays, They're getting bigger, folks. They're starting to take a much more bigger piece of the pie, while you have mom and pop businesses struggling, like restaurants or smaller stores or smaller service providers. Again, they're not able to compete with the tariffs, and they're not able to compete with the higher prices. Why is that? Well, because businesses, especially retail online businesses like Amazon, they're coming out there and they're buying these items in bulk. And when they buy them in bulk, they're trying to get them for a lower price. It's like, well, listen, I'll buy, instead of buying the regular shipment of whatever it might be, we'll buy 10 times that if you give us a discount. So they got all these products from this company, and they sell it for a little bit less. So you go online and you're searching, and you're looking at the price difference saying, well, hey, listen, it's $10 cheaper if I go through Amazon, and it's free because I have Amazon Prime. Why would I pay $10 more when I can buy it cheaper? That's just the way it works. And as a result of this, you're seeing a lot of this revenue transferred to Amazon versus the actual company that actually produces it. So again, I always tell you, if you can, buy local, buy from the actual source itself. It's usually a better quality customer service as well than going through Amazon. Again, I know it's cheaper sometimes, but again, try to be eclectic in how you buy. It's very important to understand that. So again, look at the layoffs happening. I've read them to you time and time again. Look at how AI is coming in. I read to you earlier, I think it was either this week or the end of last week, from CNBC. They said, listen, right now, 11.7% of jobs can be replaced by AI. Is that a good beginning for 2026 or a very bad one? I'll let you decide, but I don't think it's very good. Again, you can't grow an economy on military spending, defense spending, Amazon, or YouTube. It's got to come from the manufacturing, folks. It's what's going to have to happen. It's going to happen. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot of things start to go bust. Now, some good news is they are expecting that some of the rural economies are starting to grow in this article here in the Wall Street Journal. I'm happy for that. But again, you're seeing more than a dozen Tractor Supplies stores popping up and former spaces run by who? Well, Big Lots. They had hundreds of locations closed, filing for bankruptcy. Again, empty storefronts. In fact, it was one of the several large retailers, Rite Aid, Party City, craft supply companies like Joann's were among some of the others that have gone under since 2024 and vacated thousands of stores across America. So let's put things into perspective. If nobody's going in and, again, occupying the space, in given time, you're going to see a big bank bust coming up. Just my thoughts on that. Okay? All right, moving on. NBC News. What are they telling us today? All right. Well, Trump accounts. Your baby could qualify for $1,000. Hey, not bad, right? Sounds good. You just had a baby under the Trump administration. Any child born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st, 2028, you could be eligible for what's called a Trump account. What the hell is a Trump account? Well, the idea behind the Trump account, a lesser-known provision of President Trump's tax legislation, said that the bill signed into law earlier this year will give $1,000 to every newborn. Maybe it's an incentive to have a kid. Who knows? I don't know. So long as their parents open up an account. And again, the money is invested via that child into the stock market by private firms. And again, the child can access the funds when they turn 18. So the ploy behind this, and again, the backers of this say it's going to bolster the economy. So they're going to tax everybody that pays taxes. Or they're going to take $1,000 and give it to little Jimmy or little Diane or little who the hell knows. And the idea is it's going to start kicking up the stock market, of course. You're investing in stocks. Okay, they think that's going to bolster things up. Again, the stock market's already seeing record highs. And it's going to help the children from low-income households. So to qualify, you have to come from a certain zip code with a medium to lower income family earning less than $150,000 or less a year. Otherwise, you won't get that $1,000 from the Treasury that everybody's putting in. Here's why I don't like this, okay? It sounds good. My child's born, my bundle of joy. Again, it's a great moment. But why is the government coming in and saying, hey, listen, we're going to give you $1,000? I would much rather President Trump versus taking everyone's money and saying it's only for a select few people, which I view as illegal. Should be everybody, not just one person. They're coming in saying, well, you know what? Some of these, large-esque families, these wealthy families, they have trust funds. They have this. They have that set up for them. They have everything set out for them. Their less affluent peers may receive nothing at all. Maybe not even support from their families when they become adults. So why don't we do this? We'll invest. They'll have God knows how many thousands of dollars when they turn 18. It's a good idea on the abstract, isn't it? But the problem is, how can you take money from everybody and say, hey, we're going to take, this amount of money and we're just going to give it to you. God knows what you're going to do with it, but we're going to give it to you. Now, again, it sounds like a great idea. Hey, if I was turning 18 and I had 50 grand or 100,000 waiting for me, God knows where I'd spend it. I don't know. Maybe I'd start my own business. Maybe I'd go to college and pay off my debt right away. I don't know. Maybe I'll just spend it on food or Amazon. I don't know. But again, the idea that you're going to give it to one group of people, one class of people, and not everybody, to me seems a bit egregious and unconstitutional. That's just my take. And you're saying, well, Gervais, come on. Some people have billions of dollars. Their kids don't need this $1,000 account. Okay. So instead of doing $1,000 in a bank account or an investment stock portfolio, why not give parents whom have children in this country a $1,000 tax credit set up so they can set up their own account? And then let the government come in and, again, do these stock portfolio by these private firms. And then when the child's 18, they can take that money, set up in this government account, and then they are the rightful owners of it. If the parents want to, they can come in and say, hey, we want to put in $2,500 annually, pre-tax. Hey, that's fine. They can charge up, I believe they can put in yearly contributions of $5,000, but the contributions from the government and charities won't count towards the total. So again, if you want to help families out, set some money aside for their kids when they're newborns and put it into this government account, the kid can touch it when they're 18, I'm happy with it. But it should be for everybody. Should be for everybody. That's just my take on it. Again, it's redistribution of wealth is what it comes down to. And don't think that, hey, when the Democrats come in, they say, well, hey, $1,000? Oh, those pesky Republicans. Hey, they're just greedy. We'll give you 10 grand. And hey, you don't have to be a citizen like the Trump administration has outlined. I think that was the main provision. You have to be a citizen. Yep. No. Well, anybody, especially if you're an illegal alien, you can get up to $10,000. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, you know that, obviously, that means more taxation. We see how this can get out of control. So why not let parents use their own money, give them some relief when they have children, call it a ploy, call it worthwhile, call it whatever you want, and let the parents come in and say, listen, we'd like to create this, be a part of this program. We're going to take the $1,000. We have it saved up. We'll put it down. And little Jimmy, little Diane, little whomever can collect it when they're 18. Let the government come in and be so genius and, of course, invest in whatever, God knows what. And, call it baby bonds, call it whatever the hell you want. I don't care. Let them go that route. So then when they're 18, if they'd like to access the money, or if they want to keep the money going, I don't know. That's the way it works. But the idea you're going to create a special program for certain individuals, a family earning $155,000 is excluded all of a sudden? Let it be for everybody. And again, you have people investing in the stock market, stocks and bonds. That could be something worthwhile, too, for the economy. So again, while the intentions are good, we always know the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Never forget that, folks. Never forget that as well. So that's my take on it, on this Trump account. We'll see how that all plays out. By the way, let's go on to this article I have from the AP. It says that Minneapolis police will not help with immigration enforcement. Why would they? They're all Democrats. From Tim Walz all the way down to Jacob Frey, who narrowly beat out Omar Fatah? I don't know what his name is. I don't really care what his name is. But there's a push now by the Trump administration and its depiction, of course, of the Somali community inside Minneapolis, which, again, is the largest population in the United States. Now, of course, they vary throughout the country, of course, but there's roughly about 80,000 residing currently in Minneapolis. This is a big voting block for them because, again, most of them vote Democratic. So, they've come out now. Of course, the mayor's come out and speaking out against the Trump administration. Says they will not work with any of the federal agents doing immigration enforcement. It's saying it's not their job. Well, actually, of course, it's not the police officer's job. But the idea that you're not going to cooperate with them makes their process more difficult. He wanted to say that targeting Somali people means that due process will be violated. Mistakes will be made, and let's be clear, it means that American citizens will be detained for no reason other than the fact that they look like they are Somali. He goes on to say, he said, that is not now, and that will never be a legitimate reason. So here you have the mayor now coming in saying that he's not going to help with these immigration raids enforcement. He's not going to have the police help. And he went on to say the following. Again, it's shocking to me that these politicians are so brazen to come out and speak like this. You tell me what you think about this.
That's not American. That's not what we are about. And we're going to do right by every single person in our cities. And so, to our Somali community, Daman Shabka, Somalied Kunul, Minnesota, Garahan, Minneapolis, Waan, Ku Janila Hai, Waan, Ku Gereb, Taganahan.
Okay, so I don't know if Jacob Frey thinks he's the mayor of Mogadishu or if he's the mayor of Minneapolis. Maybe he's confused. I'm not sure. But he's speaking out, obviously, against what President Trump is going to do, which he views as a crackdown on the Somali population to see if people are here legally. And again, I'm not suggesting that due process is violated. You know me, I follow the Constitution. I want there to be due process always when you're detaining anybody in the United States. That is a right of everyone here, whether legal or illegal. I know some of us look at that and say, well, the Constitution's for us. Due process is applied to every single person when interacting with U.S. law. That's just the way it is. There's a Fifth Amendment right to that. So the Trump administration has got to figure out a way to come in and understand whom is here legally and identify who these people are. Now, of course, it makes it more difficult when the local law enforcement isn't working with people and the federal government. It makes it more difficult. I don't think we should be coming by and saying, hey, show me your papers and creating turmoil that way. I don't believe in that. You know I don't. Although I will agree we have a immigration problem in this country, a vast immigration problem, we need to follow due process. Now, it didn't help, too, that the police chief, this guy's name is Brian O'Hara, coming out and saying that Somalis should call 911 if they see ICE show up wearing masks to make arrests.
Folks that are masked, that they're not sure if they're law enforcement, that they may be kidnapping people. Like, we have had those reports. I want to be clear to the community. The community should know that if you see something like that, that is legitimate, that you don't know if someone is law enforcement, you should call 911. And you should provide as much information as possible, because let's not forget, we very recently had tragedy in this state by someone who was purporting to be law enforcement. So please, let's be clear. That's something everyone should report and that we will immediately respond to, and we will document. Whether it's somebody's not sure if there's a kidnapping happening, somebody's not sure if there's law enforcement, present or not. And that's something else that's additional policy requirements that we are implementing, that we will document and report these types of things anytime that we hear it, and reminding our officers of their duty to intervene. So if there is anything that is, a violation of someone's human rights or civil rights, excessive force or anything like that, they absolutely have a duty to intervene as police officers.
So while I can agree with these sentiments by this police chief, when ICE shows up, they're not just simply wearing masks and just throwing people in vans, by and large. They have identification on them. They're simply not showing their faces for the reason that Democrats are going to dox them and put themselves or their families at risk. So there's two things that are happening at once. So yes, they should be able to identify themselves and explain to the person they're being held for the charge, obviously, of being here illegally. That's where the due process needs to come in. But the idea that they're going to now have police show up and intervene on behalf, I should say, of possible illegal aliens and interfere with a police investigation from the feds, a federal investigation, rather, is something a bit odd, I would have to say. And the fact that you're not cooperating and assisting with this when you damn well know you have people there that are illegal is a complete other thing as well. So while they try to come out saying, well, we're not going to assist or help the federal government, you're making this process much more difficult. Jacob Frey, Brian O'Hara, Tim Walz, they all swore oath to the same Constitution the Republicans did, that they will uphold the Constitution. They are allowing illegal aliens to fester in these communities. And again, they're using them for whatever reason they use them for, largely votes. But they've been coming out. President Trump is saying that, these groups of people are not conducive to American society. They're not contributing as they ought to. Let's go through some statistics here and figures that I found for you. So the figures here on the Somali population living in America, and there's about 260,000 of them. 54.4% of them live below the poverty line, with claims that 40% of them are on some type of government assistance. Yet somehow, Somali populations send anywhere between, roughly $1.7 billion, that's with a B, that's bigger than the Somali government's overall funding, back to Somalia. Again, forget that we have these scams going on, right? With Medicaid benefits, claiming that their children have autism, to the Feeding Our Future nonprofit, again, a Somali nonprofit that cost the state $1 billion. Tim Walz ignored the whistleblowers that came out and suggested something was going on. I haven't heard of any mass group of people being arrested. But we saw the whole thing with the Medicaid thing. The family said that they were performing these services, they were charging the state, and they ran away with $7.2 million, and the judge let this guy go. He didn't provide any service. He just scammed the system. So they seem to be good at scamming, but what else are they good at doing it? That's what I want to know. Again, understand the average IQ in Somalia is, this is what I found, 68 to 70 is the average IQ. Now, just to let you know, and I'm going to say this as nicely as possible, that's an intellectual disability, folks. That means you cannot function in a civil society with an IQ that is that low in a country where the average IQ is 98 to 100. It just isn't going to work out for you. It's not going to be anything constructive for you. I mean, you can't even figure out how to flush a toilet. That's what it comes down to. I've heard actually, too, it's actually 58 IQ. I heard that from a reliable source. So I couldn't find that when I was searching it up. But anyways, we'll go with the 68 figure as well. Same concept. If it's 68, 58, you have a mental disability. You have a mental intellectual disability, folks. What are you going to be able to do for us? How are you going to be conducive to the American society? Remember, immigration is supposed to bolster the American population. It's not supposed to be a burden on it. You have to start understanding this. Again, we can thank Bill Clinton for all this, the start of this migration from Somalia back in the mid-1990s, some 54,000 that he ushered in. Then, of course, we have Jacob Frey and the police chief disparaging the American people for illegal aliens. Yes, ICE still needs to operate with due process. I understand this. But saying that police are not going to do anything to prevent federal agents from acting, this is unprecedented. Again, local leaders suggesting most Somalians are American citizens. That's a new big thing that's coming out. Understand this. A refugee is not a U.S. citizen. Just like the Afghans that Biden ushered in to the country back in 2021 are not U.S. citizens. And look how good that's turned out. So maybe it's time we stop with the hordes of people from the third world, from these war-torn areas all across the globe that, again, are not productive. They're not going to assimilate. And, why is Jacob Frey speaking in Somalian? I don't even know what language they speak. I don't care. Who are they pandering to? So when the geniuses in the District of Criminals when are they going to figure it out? That we need to stop with this ushering in of people from the third world. Now they want to bring in a bill that brings in more H-1B visa holders, mainly from India. Well, why the hell not? After all, a guy who was born in India wrote it. Wants America to be less white, clearly. Oh, I'm sure he's concerned about the Native American population. Oh, of course. Yeah, by the way, this Raja Krishnamurthy, I can't even say his name, good pal of Barry Honolulu Obama's, by the way. Worked on his campaigns and everything. Did you know that? Oh, you didn't know that. Well, that's why you listen to my show. So, while the Somalians are great at scamming, are they good at doing anything else? And I'm not trying to disparage everybody. I'm speaking in truths, though. You brought in a population of people. Over half of them are living below the poverty line. 40% of them are on some type of government welfare assistance. How is this conducive to America? How does this make us better? If we're not bringing the people that make us better, it's time to change course. And again, we have to look and see, are these people that have been brought in here as refugees, are they actual U.S. citizens? That doesn't mean they came in the country illegally, but are they actual U.S. citizens? If they're not, I think it's time we cut ties with these populations that have been brought in time and time again to the United States. All right. I'm fired up right now. All right. The Gateway Pundit. I like this article. Trump terminates all documents, executive orders, and contracts signed by the great Joe Biden. Oh, yeah. Calling them null and void and of no further force or effect. Well, you can understand why he did this. Joe Biden was, mental lightweight. He was never mentally or physically competent to be president of the United States at any point whatsoever. We saw this in 2020 when he was running. He was lost. He was flustered. He didn't know what he was talking about. He was making things up. He's bringing up people that had been dead for 30 years. I mean, it was bad. It was very, very bad. On top of the corruption that he was bringing in as vice president as well. But he says that anyone receiving pardons, commutations, or any other legal documents so signed, please be advised that said document has been fully and completely terminated and is of no legal effect. This is what he went on to say. But last Friday, Trump declared that any document signed by Joe Biden is now gone. Whew. That's a big one, especially a lot of these pardons, too. So I guess Anthony Fauci, a damn shiftless, they're all in the chopping block again, it seems like. Maybe that's good for Pam Bondi. She can figure out and, do something about this. So Trump has also now threatened Joe Biden with perjury charges as well. That's going to be interesting as well. See how this worked. He said that roughly 92% of the Autopen signatures that Joe Biden used, he had roughly, no further effect. He signed 92% of these documents with the Autopen. Now, does he know what's going on? Half the time he doesn't know what's going on even when he's present. God knows what's happening behind the scenes and who's allowing this to happen. And again, we have no answer to this because everyone involved in this pleaded the fifth, of course. No shock there. So this is a big thing that Trump is doing. And by the way, the executive orders, Trump doesn't need any refutation of what Joe Biden did. He could simply just create his own executive order and allow the executive branch to function as he would like them to function. That's what an executive order does. He doesn't need Joe Biden's as any type of practical procedure to do or continue on anything. He could just simply sign off on that. So let's be clear on all that. But for those of you that are saying, Joe Biden was great, Joe Biden was wonderful, I think Joe Biden was just fantastic. Did you think that when he was at the debate back in June of 2024?
We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Okay, so what was that? This is when he was supposed to be on his best. He was resting, he was prepped. Of course, later we found out he had a cold, so-called. He made no cogent points here. Nobody knew what he was talking about. But we saw this, we heard this. Making up words, falling down on stage, lost, didn't know where to walk, didn't know where to go. Just confused, very confused. Even when he was abroad with other world leaders, falling asleep when he's supposed to be listening, walking around, just disoriented. Again, he's a 81-year-old guy. Didn't know where he was half the time. It's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. But, it brings the question. Was Joe Biden cogent? Was he, aware that his signature was being put on a lot of these documents? And you'd have to understand, did he read all this? Probably not. I would have to suggest he probably did not sit down and read all these executive orders. He sat there and signed some of them. But a lot of these were probably used behind the scenes, especially these pardons at the end, with this Autopen. So, since the Democrats didn't want to play ball, this seems like the next logical choice. So, Fauci, you could be called back for some hearings, it looks like. Schiff. Oh, Schiff. I guess he could be called back too. Wonderful. You know what's not wonderful, though? This Deadline article I've got for you. It says, Newsom 2028. How anyone could think Gavin Newsom? Well, I guess these are the same people that thought Biden was useful. How could this list of Hollywood donors start lining up behind the expected White House bid of Gavin Newsom, suggesting that he's a fighter? And this is exactly what we need. No, we don't need this. This is a guy who destroyed California, by and large. He's helping put the final nails in the coffin, if you will. But listen to this. A top-tier producer said, he's a fighter, that's what we need. I just wish more Democrats like Schumer and the leadership in Congress would emulate him and not take any blank from President Trump. Was what the producer of, God knows what, they didn't list the name, said of Gavin Newsom. Do we really need more of Gavin Newsom, folks? This is a guy who is a complete failure on so many different levels. It's pretty terrifying to think anyone could think he is competent to be the leader of the free world. And look at this. Look at this. Is this... Oh, I hope it's not Bill Maher saying this. If it is Bill Maher, I mean, he lost all credibility a long time ago. But if Newsom does run in 2028, which is widely anticipated, it goes on to say, and essentially confirmed pre-midterms by the contender himself, the governor clearly has built in some advantages over rivals when it comes to drawing Tinseltown money and high-profile support. Well, of course he does. He's got the people in big tech and the Bay Area, and he's got people in Hollywood who back him no matter what, because he's a Democrat. Whether that translates into him becoming the new Ed Muskie or the heir to Bill Clinton, Barry Obama, and his adopted political father, Joe Biden, remains to be determined. But there are some pretty strong leans towards the latter already. First of all, what has he done? California's going bankrupt, thanks to him, and he was bailed out twice. And he's looking at when he leaves office, at leaving the state with $72 billion in debt. Yeah, how's that going to work out? By the way, I saw this article last week. I mean, it makes you just shake your head when you read these things. This is on Breitbart. It says here that a new documentary shows how California's Governor Gavin Newsom, the state legislature, and Mayor Karen Bass either sat idly by or actually contributed directly to conditions that allowed several wildfires to devastate LA and the Pacific Palisades in January of 2025. Absolutely 100%. This is an idiot who couldn't even figure out how to put water in a fire hydrant. This is a guy who just passed the buck. When the delays to get, the fire support down to the Los Angeles area, completely incompetent. Completely incompetent. The documentary called Paradise Abandoned, and that's exactly what LA is. It's a paradise that's been abandoned by the Democrats for quite some time now. Shows one resident after another testifying on film to the failures of government officials to respond to the fires to save their homes. Again, if Gavin Newsom doesn't give a damn about people that live in the Palisades or Malibu or in Pasadena where there's lots of old money, do you think he gives a damn about anybody else in California except himself? I think you understand that. One man interviewed in the film pointed out that Mayor Bass and Gavin Newsom were seen walking down the street as a Chase Bank building was burning. Yet none of the firefighters flanking the officials lifted a finger to put the fire out. The Chase building burned to the ground while Gavin Newsom held a press conference feet away. Wow. Again, he was down there looking at how, oh, there's the fire. Get someone to put it out, you jerk. What the hell are you doing? This guy can't even put out a forest fire. He's abandoned that too because he will not cut brush. That's another big problem. But he couldn't even put out fires to save some of the best real estate in California. You go drive down PCH by Malibu where some of these beautiful homes are, right on the water. Absolutely, they were destroyed. And what did this jerk do? He put in a bill, pushed through by the legislature, that made selling off this real estate cheaper. And by the way, some $65 million in foreign investments came and bought in a lot of these lots here on PCH in Malibu. So he's more worried about selling off the land for, again, cheap housing to be put there now, in the Palisades of all places, than actually taking care of the people that actually live there. That's who Gavin Newsom is. And it's a complete disgrace. By the way, I did an AI search, and I rarely ever, get so much information. But this, I wrote in list of Gavin Newsom failures. And by the way, you can go back and listen to my shows in mid-September where I did the 30 different reasons why Gavin Newsom should never become president. That's just the tip of the iceberg, too. But this list just kept growing. I never saw AI do this. Usually it just kicks out some information. This just kept building. But look at this. It says major failures attributed to Gavin Newsom. Lots of times when you do this with a profile like Gavin Newsom or someone of that stature, it'll come out with well, it can't be really attributed. There's no evidence that can link this person to that. Well, not this. It says major failures attributed to Gavin Newsom. Homelessness crisis, housing affordability, cost of living, crime and public safety. Yeah, remember Prop 36 passed, Californians? Gavin Newsom was supposed to fund money and he refused to do it? Yeah. Energy and power grid failures, water management, COVID-19 response controversies, business exodus, educational failures, and technology mismanagement. That's just the tip of the iceberg with this guy. Tip of the iceberg. And these idiots living in their mansions somewhere in Bel Air or Beverly Hills, God knows where, that run Hollywood, think that this guy is just great. This is just what we need. This is the type of leadership we need to have in D.C. Do you see how insane this is? How these people do not live in any sort of reality? It makes you wonder, doesn't it, folks? How anyone could think Gavin Newsom is competent to lead the nation when he can't even lead the state of California. And he's driven it right into the ground, which is why you see the mass exodus of both people and businesses leaving the state of California. It's an absolute disgrace. I want to go over one more article before we finish today's show. This is the New York Post. It says Army veteran Ed Bambas, 88, reveals he worked at a supermarket after losing his pension. Look at this. Now, of course, people like Ben Shapiro would come out and say, well, hey, it's stupid to retire anyways at 65. Why do that when you could just work your whole life? Yeah, okay. Anyways, the 88-year-old Army veteran heartbreakingly revealed he works 5 days a week at a local grocery store to help pay his bills before a kind-hearted shoppers rallied to raise over, get this, $1 million for his retirement. I mean, it's brilliant when people come together, isn't it, folks? When people come together, we do great things. And this generosity towards this man is wonderful. He said, I retired from General Motors in 1999, but in 2012, they went bankrupt, and they took my pension away from me. That's what he said. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine that? Working all that time and then having to go back to work in a situation like this. Again, General Motors, good paying job, provides a pension. And then he's told he's got to go back to work afterwards. He's almost 90 years old. So the octogenarian revealed he was comfortable in his retirement with a home and stable financial footing until he was left with nothing when his wife fell ill around the same time. He went on to say that the thing that hurt most was when my wife was really sick and when they took my pension. He also took the health care coverage and all but $10,000 of my life insurance. To pay for his medical bills, Bambas sold his home and property just to make it through. So, in heartbreaking times like this, when you've worked your entire life, right, when you've served your country, and you're told to go back to work, I mean, it's just, Gavin, it has to be a devastating thing for you to do. And again, 88 years old, still getting up 5 days a week and going to work. God bless him that he's able to even do that. But the bigger point about this is, I guess, the somber attitude that when people come together, we can do great things for people. When people see some people are struggling, when we see devastation, like what we saw under the great Gavin Newsom, the tool, people come together, we help people. We help our fellow people. I saw so many people during the Palisades fires, the Eaton Canyon, the Palisades fire, the Malibu fires, everything that was happening in LA at the time, the devastation. People were going out and donating food banks. People were putting people up in homes. I mean, we're generous. We are. We do great things for people. And it's just a very great thing to see. People coming out and coming out for this man who's served the country, worked his entire life, retired, and then he has to go back to work. And people hear his story and are so enamored by it that they come out and do this. So I was very touched by this, so I wanted you to hear this because we are a generous nation. We are good to our people. We do great things when we're set to our own devices. And, this guy, despite everything, Ed shows up every day with quiet dignity, strength, and perseverance. His story is a stark reminder to those of our many seniors, especially our veterans, face incredible challenges just to survive. Is what was written on this GoFundMe. And over, $1 million was set aside for this wonderful man. So again, folks, if you can ever help people struggling with medical bills, or if they're afflicted with anything like the such, and they're able to, persevere, it's a great thing to see when people overcome these great boundaries and these hardships that we're faced with in our daily lives. So this is no different. Folks, again, I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope you will share with some friends. I hope you found the articles and information very useful. All the articles, by the way, are posted with their headlines in the podcast. I know they're in the Apple podcast, so they should be at every podcast you stream anywhere else as well. So please share with as many people as possible. I appreciate when you do that. And I just want to say I'll see you tomorrow on the next Marco Dre Show. Until then, be good. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Be good. God bless.